Thank you. I've been thinking about this moment for a couple years.
Oh, time's up.
I'll make it quick. First, I just want to say thank you very much. My life has changed immensely in the several years that my husband and I have been listening to you. So I think from there, I'm just going to...
So deliberate creation is more satisfying than just blundering around.
Yes.
Yeah,
And I have something to say about that. I just have a couple questions. One thing I want to say is that I had an amazing experience when I moved to Asheville a year ago. I wrote a book, and I wrote a book in 10 months, and I'm not a writer. I've been having these incredible experiences since I've been listening, and my awareness is just shifting dramatically. I mean, it's like sometimes I feel like I can barely hold on. And my husband and I manifested this amazing job about 6 months after we started listening to you. And we moved across the country, and we lived in this incredible place. It was a job where we felt totally summoned to. It was a hell yes. And we got there, and it was wonderful on many levels, and it was also extremely difficult. And I don't want to go into the specifics of that so much, but to say
So it was
that...
a clarifying experience.
Exactly.
So it was a step along the way.
Yes.
And so it answered perfectly the vibrational components that you had going on. It answered the wobble that existed at that time, which was predominantly positive, but not completely.
And it was such a gift. And the book was a cathartic experience. I had to keep that experience alive. I wrote the book, and I kept hearing you say, you can write a book in 6 months. I did nothing for 10 months. I had a physical injury occur on that farm, so I literally could not live the life that I knew. So I wrote every day. And I knew nothing about self-publishing. My point of attraction was almost too much. I almost burnt my house down writing this book. And it's done, and it's over, and it's out. And I just want to say this one little piece. Since it's been released, I have felt a little wobbly. And I really appreciate what you're saying today.
Well, you were feeling wobbly before it was released.
Yes.
There is a wobble in every part of your story, which is fine, but it's good to acknowledge it, isn't it? Doesn't a wobble beget a wobble beget a wobble beget a wobble? Isn't that what we've been talking about? You don't wobble, 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 and then just stop wobbling without doing something deliberately to stop the wobble. People talk about catharsis as if that would stop a wobble. Never does.
Uh-huh. That's good.
Something that is cathartic is trying to get to the root of something. It's acknowledging something. It's explaining something. It's justifying something. But it is keeping a vibration of something alive or active. Yeah? Does that make sense?
Yes.
It has to make sense, otherwise everything else we've been saying in the last 2 days makes no sense.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and so where I want to go with that, because I've made peace, I'm fine there now, I want to go into an aspect of how I get into the vortex very easily, and that is, and we took that job, and that is nature. I absolutely feel alignment like that when I...
Think about that. Think about how nature was here before steam engines, before bridges, before commerce, before technology. There is a solid vibration in nature, isn't there? It's a really good place. It's a good place to focus in order to center. A more Abraham updated verbiage of centering is wobble-free-lessness.
Yeah. So I spend a lot of time there. And one thing that I've been wanting to ask you is this. I'm a beekeeper, and there is a lot going on with the bees right now. And it's called colony collapse disorder and blah, 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 blah. But
blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. Since I started working with the bees, I've always wanted to ask Abraham, what's going on with the bees? Why are they dying?
Well, everybody does, you know.
Yes.
We think that the bee just doesn't like mathematics and language. more interested in the evolution of its own species and its rediscovery of its constantly changing place in the world. And humans who assume that something has gone wrong attract disoriented bees.
Mm-hmm. And they are disoriented.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But it's temporary. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
You can never get to an improvement by focusing upon what's wrong with anything. That's one of those flawed premises or distortions or deceptions that humans play upon themselves and upon each other. It goes something like, let us scrutinize the planet and let us find the pieces that seem out of order, and let us find a need and fill it, or let us find something that's wrong and fix it. And we say, there is a step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4 to this process of deliberate creation, but you all are making too much of a lifestyle out of focusing on the problem, and therefore holding yourself in vibrational discord to the solution. It's hard to accept that well-being abounds when you have evidence to the contrary, because the evidence seems so believable. But when you understand that the evidence is only evidence of thought, and that the thought can be changed, which will produce different evidence, it puts the whole thing in a whole different framework, doesn't it?
Yes.
So our question to all of you is, why do you accept anything that's not the way you want it to be? If we were standing in your physical shoes, as we stand in your physical shoes, we say, now what? Now what? Now what? Well, then now what? Now what? Now what? That's what the bees are saying. Now what? Now what? And if you could hear them in their hives or in their migratory patterns, you'd hear them. They're very brief conversations because they don't live long. But they say things to each other like, never mind them. They've never really understood us. They've been mining us for their advantage, not for our advantage. And they have weakened our species in our compliance to what they want. What are they calling this?
They're calling it colony collapse disorder. I've only said that here, actually. I never say that.
Well, we're just going to play with you just a little bit and say the same thing is true of humans. You have colony collapse disorder going on around you, but it doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It means there's a restructuring. It means there's a reevaluation. It means that more are seeking freedom.
Yeah.
It means that more are wanting to run their own show. It means more are wanting to find independence. It means more are wanting to respond from inspiration. Think about it. You either accept the well-being or you don't. And when you accept it, the evidence of well-being shows itself to you. And when you don't, the evidence of the collapse and disorder shows itself to you. And it is a very different world depending upon what your vibrational premise is. We get it, that when you are accustomed to observing and observing and observing, and then the things that you're observing start changing, that humans really want things to stay the same, especially the things that they really like. The things that they are appreciating, you don't want to change. But when you accept that everything is evolving and that it's always getting better. Esther has the plaque. She took 3 cars to the car wash last week. And when she got there with the 3rd car, the boys that were drying them off had a big grin and recognized her, and Esther thought, oh, they recognized me, but it wasn't her. It was the plaque in each car that says things are always working out for me. That arrogant plaque shining on the windshield of the car. Things are always working out for me. Things are always working out for me, not just for me, but for everyone. Things are always working out for me. 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 Because I am an eternal being, and I'm focused in an eternal universe, and I have access to eternal vibration, and I am a stream of eternal consciousness, and there will be no end to that which I am. Now I can participate in the fullness, or I can pinch myself off, and I can reflect the degree to which I'm allowing or not. But that's it. There's not destruction, there's not endedness, there's not decline, there's not a reason to be guarded. There's only a reason to rejoice. And when you get there, then everything around you stands in that knowing and does not wobble. Our friend earlier said, I don't wobble when I have a conversation with you, Abraham. And that's what you want your bees to feel. We don't wobble when we're in your hive. There's a well-being here. There's an energetic, vibrational well-being here that draws us here. Here we thrive in our hive.
Just a segue into nature and to working the land and feeling the resonance. When I'm in nature, I can feel the trees. I feel the animals speak to me. And it's a very beautiful thing, and it's like magic. And
so what are the bees buzzing about these days? Listen for them.
Oh, yeah.
What are they telling you? We have
they want to
hive collapse disorder, is that what they're saying?
Well, they really want to be left alone.
Really? Yeah. They want to smell the roses, eh?
Where I want to just go for just a minute is that's a wonderful place for me to be in nature, and we are living in a world that is extremely electronic, electromagnetic, chemical, blah, 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 blah.
Magnificently evolved, isn't it?
However.
No, however.
No?
Magnificently evolved, isn't it? Magnificently evolved, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Magnificently evolved, isn't it? You can't have it both ways. Magnificently evolved, isn't it? Things are always working out for me, aren't they? Magnificently evolved. Because your approach equals your connection or not to your resources.
So a sensitive person can live in this magnificently evolved world.
Better than anyone else, because a sensitive person cares about how they feel and finds thoughts that allow. You cannot describe yourself as a sensitive person to electronic signals and complain about them. In other words, if you're a sensitive person, you've given up complaining a long time ago. You've given up worry too. Because those are the signals that matter big time. Your connection signals to your source are paramount. These little pesky signals that buzz around your world, not significant in comparison. Collect the evidence that proves that to yourself.
Okay, I have to sit with that. That is wonderful. Thank you so much.
This is a powerful and important conversation.
I feel like it's... So I'm going to sit with this.
Really good.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, it is.